So we have a few minutes for questions. Do we have a mic? Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, there we are. Thank you.
Hi, questions to Normans and investors. Did LIA and the Chamber of US helped actually you some kind of way?
No. Wrong. I can elaborate a bit more. Well, the first trade shows we made back in 8 years ago, we we got this, 50%. At that time it was 50 or something, 50% subsidy as attending the trade shows. We have if someone's from here and from SMEs, which tend to use this, not startups, we got this post-completion support. You have to travel and have all your expenses, then submit paperwork, excessive paperwork, trust me, and then you get 15% off. And many startups, specifically startups, would never go this route because it's really way too excessive paperwork, especially at that time. Now it's a little bit better, but now also they have capping. You can do a proper trade show. You can do a small booth, basically, because it's a capping of expense. But yes, I have to acknowledge, yes, we used those for first 4 or 5 trade shows. So yes, we used the state subsidy, which is basically distributed by LIA.
But if I may try to ask, yes, of course, we were using and also are using some sort of those export programs where you can get some public money in trade shows, etc. I understood that your question rather was about creating a contact, bringing you some business, or was that? No, if that was general, yes, of course, we got that sort of support. But you should understand that don't overestimate abilities of both the embassy and specifically LIA, because that poor man or lady who is sitting in that rep office, one day they have to care about wood industry, next day pills, another, some scholarship, and now you come, with your IT product. So it's simply technically impossible. They will not sell your product, period, right?
Yes.
But of course, both the embassy and LIA reps and also those honorary consuls can give you some credibility that you can convince them to visit your customer and give at least some more confidence that you are not some bandit run out from bush. This is what really public sector can give you, and this is important. This is a lot, by the way. But you have to ask right questions. If you ask, please help us sell, then the answer is obvious, no way, right?
But, yep. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, just wanted to add that there is an opportunity for businesses to come to US. As in the end of April, the Prime Minister is going to the US, and we will shortly announce also the invitation for businesses to join that mission.
And?
Yes. Sorry?
Okay. And?
Okay.
Yeah, just finalizing. The business delegations of official state visits is one should not underestimate those, as it provides the companies ability to sometimes, not always, but sometimes, to open doors which would for regular businesses would sometimes not be possible to open, and we are about to start organizing the business program and asking businesses which doors should be open in the east coast of US. The Prime Minister going to Philadelphia, probably Boston or Chicago, and here we can again be of assistance.
It would be a nice discussion. Unfortunately, we run out of time, but I would be extremely pleased if you could tell me how Prime Minister's visit could help me sell my microwave radios to
In the U.S., actually.
Anywhere.
No, I would say just a little bit on top of that. You should not expect Leah selling for you. That's true. I think everyone agrees to that. The second thing is the things Leah can do and actually has done. Maybe U.S. I don't know that much about the U.S. case, but it has done very efficiently. Is really in broader sense representing, organizing events and representing the interests of industries. And the problem here is that, of course, the startup industry is size-wise and also being very different within itself. It's difficult to represent as an industry. The timbering industry is much better example, right? And wood processing, and they really have basically common goals as much more than the startups or the tech industries. So Leah has done it and does okay, but the problem is maybe the industries they are able, because of the nature of industry, not because of you, to support better are rather low tech, because they're a critical mass and pretty much one interest in that stuff. And also I would still argue back to Normans, but we can do it later, that it really depends which place, which part of the world, because in Asia, the very fact that you are traveling with, even a small industry, a small company, traveling within this delegation means a lot. In U.S., unless you're not from defense industry, but we're not big suppliers of defense industry of the U.S., and they're not very keen buyers from other companies than non-U.S. companies. So basically, I'd say it's relatively less of importance, because in the US many industries would do everything to avoid contact with government procurement, and that's if you go to Silicon Valley investor and say that we have this cool business model and we are selling to government, I bet you would have a hard time of getting investment, as opposed if you figure out other business model. They really run away they don't like selling to government. That's
well, if I can just add, from the embassy's perspective, the embassy in Latvia is here to help American companies working in Latvia. So Guntārs and Elaine often focus on helping American companies find partners and representation offices and set up businesses here in Latvia. And so, but we also do trade missions into the U.S. Guntārs went on 2 or 3 last year, one in woodworking and one in IT. I believe we're looking at IT again this year. And we invite Latvian companies to come with us. Many of those trade shows are supported by the Department of Commerce. And it's an opportunity to have us help you network. It is not to help you sell your product. It is not to help you get your foot in the door or set up the bank account. But it is to help you negotiate your way through a different business environment that may be unfamiliar to you. If you've never been to the U.S., if you've never been to a U.S. trade show, perhaps going on an embassy organized group with a Latvian who works at the American embassy, who can help you make that connection, can help you navigate the uniqueness of that particular market, that may be something you're interested in. Select USA is based in the United States, and it is designed to help you make connections with the local authorities, the local trade associations, the local businesses. As you heard, there's 50 different markets in the U.S. There are probably more than that, because in California alone, Los Angeles, San Diego, Sacramento, and San Francisco would have completely different markets that you would have to navigate, completely different promotional activities to attract your businesses, and completely different ways of approaching it, not to mention completely different business attitudes. Some are out there more selling themselves than others. Some are waiting for you to come to them. And I think one thing that I think everybody has said is you really have to do your research before you go. and use these tools, whether it's Leah or Select USA or AmCham or someone else you know who has done something in these business markets, who can point you in the right direction, because you can't just show up in the US and expect to sell your product. You can't just show up and expect to figure out how to file a tax return. You're going to have to look at each one individually. And you may find Colorado is the best place to invest, but you may also find that Delaware is a better place to work from. And that's going to depend on your individual business model, and your individual investors. And all of that will be benefited by having done your research before you ever set foot on a plane or reached out to anybody. The other thing I would say is know what you're selling. They talk about the elevator pitch. Be able to describe what your business is in 3 short sentences. Otherwise, you're going to lose your audience because they got somebody else next to you who knows that.
To wrap up, I guess I wanted to...
Someone's waving.
Oh, somebody waving. Okay, we're getting towards the networking part because Vina Cortis has provided wonderful wine on the second floor.
Sure.
I'll be quick.
That you can ask your question.
Andre, you emphasized that while a great product is important, sales and marketing are key. You also said to go out there and talk with people. With regard to tech startups, which most of the businesses here are, this tends to be perhaps a stereotype, but communication tends to be their weakest link. What would you suggest they do to strengthen this aspect of their business with regard to doing business in the U.S.? Thank you.
Okay, well, I could talk for a while about it, but I think, as Karen was saying, I mean, you really need to work on that messaging very early. So, for example, as I said before, Faster team and I, we went to the U.S. for this trade show. We worked on this YouTube promotional clip. Can't be 5-10 minutes long. It's 45 seconds. This was fantastic, actually, because the one partner we did meet, even though we were going around meeting different people, the one we wanted to meet, he was very proactive in going around. He saw our booth. He didn't have much time. We had the message clear. He saw the YouTube clip. He's like, I get it. He's like, here's my card. Just call me and we'll do a Skype call. Just like that. Just bang. Because we were ready. We were prepared. So that's the key thing. I feel like this is like preparing for a game. And preparation is key. So as everybody's saying here, you want to go to the U.S. market. It's tough. You got to be prepared for it, but don't be discouraged. Just do everything you need to do ahead of time. So, and also, I mean, you are going to maybe not get it right the first time. It's like interviewing. So, I think you just have to, like I said, continue to try, and then you'll just get better and better. So, and like I said, after being in the U.S. and having this experience and being prepared, we were even more prepared to sit down and meet with Penguin when they were walking right through our door at Tech Hub. So. You just have to work every angle. I think the key thing is that you have a menu of choices. You need a multi-pronged strategy in going out there. And you're not really sure what's going to work. It's like a roulette wheel, too. I mean, it's a gamble. But you can't just bet on one thing. You've got to be able to hedge your bets and try different strategies. But, of course, you have a limited amount of money, time, and resources. So you got to have smart people around you to help you make these decisions. And starting off, like you said, with the messaging, it has to be very clear, and of course the people on your team who are very good in English going to the U.S. That's also critical.
I think we have time for one more question.
I want to ask you about the future. One thing that I've learned today is that there are things that make EU, United States business some cumbersome, yeah. And then there is that transatlantic partnership under construction. And I want to ask, do you see that there is a positive development between those two parts of the world, and maybe in some time we'll see that business as a Latvian company in the United States is much easier than it is right now? In terms of, I might think that in terms of payments and these things. Yeah, just
Who's the addressee of the
Yeah.
question? You should be. I don't know anything of this.
Well, I
partnership.
mean, I think we can say, speaking on behalf of the U.S. government, we believe that by reaching agreement on a transatlantic trade and investment partnership, it will make business easier. It will simplify regulations across borders. So in theory, regulations in the EU and regulations in the U.S. would be more compatible with each other. That it would streamline a lot of the issues involving customs and tariffs and all those different things that, as we've heard, can make things complicated. And the idea behind it is to make business easier between the European Union and the United States. The European Union is the United States' largest trading partner. We do most of our business with Europe, even though obviously Asia is very important to us. But that doesn't mean it can't be better, and that doesn't mean it can't be easier. And that's really the objective of the negotiations. But, we're hoping to do it quickly because we know that it makes a huge difference for both European companies and American companies.
I forget to tell one thing, if I may. And
Okay.
remember, they count in gallons, they drive miles, and their
Temperatures
threads
and
and
fires.
nuts and bolts are in inches, and you can run pretty easy in some sort of hardware where suddenly you realize that your screw doesn't fit in because, some part of it is in metric and some is in imperial. It's
And our electricity is different.
it's nowadays it's better.
It's
but,
better,
Yeah, but
our plugs are different.
and it comes also with local certification. Your European certificates and etc. are null and void in the US. You have to do everything from the scratch. Yeah, this
And
is
the
one
worst-
more thing.
And the worst part, when talking business and investment, they all the time use the terminology of baseball and American football.
Yeah.
You have to learn this too.
Learn those games.
Learn the games. Come on.
Wanted to thank our distinguished speakers, Norman Bergs, Corinne McClelland, Andre Demarest, Andres Parups, and Viestur Sosars. Thank you very much, Leah. You have shown that you are interested in helping people here get somewhere, also in part by helping organize this event. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for the great partners at the U.S. Embassy. And thank you to our business people for being so candid about your own experiences. And thank you to Baltic Technology Group. You're a wonderful sponsor. Thank you. Thank you to Vina Cortis. And thanks to our wonderful sponsors, we are all now invited to converge on the second floor, where our speakers will also be available for commentary, questions, tips on baseball. And thank you for coming.
Sorry, I only do American football. I can't.